Hello, ladies and gentlemen, it's me, Markiplier, and welcome back to Minecraft. The next mob to be updated, we very well might know it. The next mob to be added, same as the case. And what's that, but a structure remake in the queue as well? Well, almost certainly. Dig for your drawer, find your magnifying glasses, and most importantly, your detective hats. Because laddies, today, as soon as you hit that like button, we are going on a 26.1 mystery adventure. Hey, make sure you subscribe too. We're on that long road to 2 million, and I need your help. Alright, so pulling up the Studio W7, back inside of it, we have every single spawn egg in Minecraft right now. Ever since the Spring to Life update, the spawn eggs, no pun intended, have literally sprung to life. They're gorgeous looking. This spawn egg, the rabbit. Wait a second. Alright, so the rabbit spawn egg. We go ahead and take a look at this buddy. Whoa, right, you can't make that up. Take a look at that buddy, and take a look at that spawn egg. I mean, look, you can't make this up. The spawn egg and the rabbit right here, they're almost a one-to-one identical exact replica, right? Yeah, right. Well, yeah, right. You'd have to be crazy to deny that these aren't exactly the same thing. And now logically, yeah, that makes sense. Look, I'm not crazy. I know the rabbit spawn egg should look like the rabbit. But that's the thing, my friend. The rabbit spawn egg should look like the rabbit. I want to send a shout out to Harry, the Minecraft wiki man, for noticing this one, because it blew my mind. Obviously, in days of old, you know how the rabbit looked? It looked like this since like the 90s practically. It's small, boxy, kind of ugly, no offense. Meanwhile, our spawn eggs, these things are beautiful and modern, and they have looked like this since about this time last year in the Spring to Life update when they all got overhauled and made into these beautiful textures. The old rabbit, of course it looked like that. The new rabbit, of course it looks like this. The rabbit spawn egg, it's looked like this for a year now. If you don't see the connection already, let me just be pretty direct with it. The new rabbit spawn egg that we've had in the game for a year has very clearly resembled the new rabbit that we literally just got. How long has Mojang known that there would be a rabbit update that they'd be cooking up? And exactly how long has this new rabbit texture and model been done? Because the spawn egg makes it look like this rabbit has kind of been done for literally a year. Either they already had the plan for the new rabbit texture, or they made the new rabbit texture modeled off of the spawn egg. Either way, we could go ahead and set these rabbits free from their ever-long tormenting freeze, and we could notice that the spawn egg, nobody even noticed for a year until now, but it's always been a little bit fishy looking. With that being said, the rest of the spawn eggs, do any of them possibly reveal a future update? So now look, here's the thing. When taking a look at these spawn eggs and analyzing them, of which I have already done for this video, it's a little bit tricky, right? Like, looking at all of the spawn eggs here, kind of seems like the zombie horse spawn egg was another spawn egg that we completely missed here because, unless they changed the texture, which, yes, they did actually change the texture. In 25W44A, the texture was updated, so scratch that. For the most part here, I've been taking a look at all of our different spawn egg textures. They all make pretty much exact perfect sense with the current version of the mobs that we have inside of the game, save for one very, very curious spawn egg, the polar bear. This one's a little weird. Alright, so for this one, it's all about the details. Take a look at the nose. It is pointing downwards right there on the polar bear. We spawned the polar bear in, and the nose is pointing upward. It's the exact opposite direction. That's a little bit weird. Let's go ahead and take a look at the other bear in the game and compare it to the polar bear. Wait a second. Panda bear, polar bear, obviously different things in real life, but if we take a look at the, it's so sad. If we take a look at the two models of these bears, one of these bears is much more Minecrafty and better looking than the other bear. Rabbit spawn egg looks unlike any rabbit in the game. Fast forward, the rabbit gets updated. Polar bear spawn egg looks quite different than the polar bear in the game. Fast forward. And will the pattern repeat? While the answer to that question, technically completely unknown, there are many other hints in this mystery that point towards yes. To find even more hints of a potential polar update being cooked up by Mojang, we don't have to go back very far. The Mounts of Mayhem update. And inside of Mounts of Mayhem, we got this brand new, terrifying, temperate biomob, I guess you could call it, where you have the normal zombie with a spear, and then the zombie horse. Over inside of the warm biome, the desert, we've got camel husk. And then, of course, on top of that thing, we can have a husk and the skeleton husk as well, riding it. It's kind of terrifying. We've got our big, bad warm mob. We've got our big, bad temperate mob. What about our frozen rider mob? Completely missing. Taking a look at the frozen mobs or cold mobs that we have in the game that could maybe work as a rider, of course, you've got the llama. Only problem here, nobody can control these things. They have a mind of their own, so maybe not. And then the polar bear. If the polar bear were able to be mounted and maybe zombified, that could make it the perfect and terrifying cold biome mount. The cold biomes are missing a mount for some reason. The polar bear is potentially perfect. Now, on top of that one, a couple of updates back, not that far ago now, but over on Bedrock Edition, the polar bear's animation, pathfinding, and aggressiveness was actually adjusted in bug fix to make this thing be a little bit more smart when it comes to combat and how and when it should attack a player, and maybe when it exactly shouldn't attack a player too. No, stop. They're all ganging up on me. I didn't do anything. I'm an innocent man, I swear. Oftentimes, bug fixing is just that, you know, the polishing of a mob. Other times, in our modern era, what we tend to see happen is before Mojang implements an update to say something, let's say the polar bear, well, they'll go ahead and try and quality control the mob how it is right now, squashing existing bugs that have sometimes been in the game for years, exactly like the polar bear bugs and how long they've been on Bedrock. Did Mojang go ahead and just decide to fix the polar bear last month for no reason other than fixing an old mob? Or were they setting up for something? Another side of the times when it comes to the polar bear is this dusty, crusty model. This polar bear quite literally looks like the old rabbit that they just removed from the game. It's very boxy and kind of dated looking. Also here, check this out. I will only hit a polar bear for science, but its attack animation, how it does things here, I mean, it's kind of dated looking too. How it just goes up and swings at you and kicks in the air. Yeah, they could definitely make that thing a little bit better. Stay back, boy. Stay back. This is what I was trying to say with the panda mob earlier, that the panda is a perfect bear-looking mob. Like, that's amazing looking. The polar bear, imagine if they update this thing and simplify it to make it look a little bit more like the panda. Those kind of old animations. I mean, that's the perfect idea for an update. This would be exactly like what they did with the bat, exactly like what they did with the rabbit, and exactly like some of the other updates that they've done with mobs in the past too. Out of all of the mobs in the game now, the oldest and most dated looking one, it's probably the polar bear. Switching gears for a second here, the salmon. It sure looks like the salmon is getting an update, or who knows? Maybe by the time I get around to dropping this video, the salmon update of all time has already happened. Now, salmon getting an update and an update all about cuteness is admittedly a little bit strange. Not exactly the cutest looking thing in the world. Okay, I'll take it back, at least in the real world. In Minecraft, they are kind of adorable, almost. Salmon, if the salmon are getting an update, well, I wonder if the salmon are possibly related to anything else in the real world, maybe, or something like that. Oh, wait, what's that, you amateur zoologist? They are related to something in the real world? They're related to bears? Huh? You're telling me bears eat many different things, polar bears, all bears alike, including salmon? Oh, well, that's weird. Okay, salmon, that's interesting. But if Mojang were going to update the polar bear, what else could happen? Switching back to the bears for a second, in the game, we have a cold variant of the bear, definitely the polar bear. We have a warm variant of the bear. That would be the panda living inside of the jungle biome, one of the warmest. Now, mob variants, you know how Mojang does it. Nowadays, there's a little bit of a spectrum when it comes to these things. That spectrum goes from warm to temperate to cold. It's almost as if we're only missing one single bear variant, one single type of bear added to the game, and then we've got all of them that we need. If we want to complete our trio of bears inside of the game, all we would need is a temperate bear. And then what in the world is a temperate bear? Well, it is but a black bear, one of the most adorable, cute bears of all time. Oh, my God, my heart. Look at these tiny little things. They're perfect. A brand new bear, you say? Very interesting. With the help of Alex's mobs right here, we can take a look at a brand new bear concept or two. Maybe that one's not from Alex's mobs. This is a little crazy. With the help of Alex's mobs, we can take a look at a different bear concept that could come to the game. Now, this bear right here, this is the grizzly bear. The grizzly bear, in real life, is a ferocious and vicious predator. You do not want to talk to the grizzly bear. On the other hand, though, the black bear, I mean, admittedly, you probably still don't want to try and talk to one. Could be dangerous, you never know. But black bears are actually the much more timid, gentle, and, believe it or not, shy version of a bear. The diet of a black bear in a natural habitat consists of mainly smaller things like fruits and a little bit of berries going on, insects, and even something like the salmon. Black bears are native to a relatively temperate area, something like, say, a forest biome. And again, of course, a bear is a bear, not always the most safe thing to play around with, but something like a black bear is the perfect candidate for a mob that just kind of does its own thing. Maybe almost like the polar bear, except these things are very vicious in real life. But, you know, a mob that kind of just minds its own business. That is, of course, unless the player decides to interact with it and harass it. It is my belief that if Mojang were going to try and add a bear to the game, another one, maybe the black bear might just be the perfect candidate. So, look, with all of that being said, a brand new type of bear coming to the game and polar bears getting an update, I don't know, man. If Mojang is taking a look at salmon and upgrading them, it feels like a bear update might kind of make a lot of sense. Also, I mean, take a look at our forests. They would benefit a whole bunch from bears spawning in these biomes that are like a neutral mob until you smack it a couple of times, then it probably doesn't like you very much. Seems like a bear would fit in perfectly with 26.1 and what we know about it so far, right? Moving on, sliding down underneath the ground from time to time, if you're lucky, you'll be able to find a little thing called a dungeon. If not a bear update coming to the game, it seems that a dungeon update, well, that's almost all but certain. The dungeon, the tried, the true, the classic. It's a beautiful structure. If we say, go ahead and slide into a dungeon, open up the loot chest, okay, we got a little bit of junk. Open up the other loot chest, aha, there it is. Right now, one of the most good, at least most good if you're into like the lore story building of your world, things that you could find, well, that's a name tag. A little problem with the name tags, though. Mojang, they just went ahead and crashed the name tag economy. These things are some of the easiest things to craft in the entire game now. A single piece of paper, and literally any type of nugget in the game will do the trick. You'll get your hands on a name tag. They went ahead and made the name tag easier and cheaper to craft than a flipping saddle. Now here he is, but the interesting thing, if we slide over to the Minecraft wiki, where we can see all of the changes and information documented when it comes to dungeons or monster spawner rooms, scroll all the way down to the history section that tracks all of the changes, and we will find that in 1.21.6, when the saddle became craftable, they were also removed from just about every single loot table in the game, including the dungeon. Look, I'm a busy man, I make a lot of videos. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't know exactly when this video will release, but it certainly seems like removing name tags from the loot table of the dungeon is a possible thing that could happen, especially since we already have ingots in the loot table, and we might even have paper too. Alright, scratch that. We actually don't have any paper. Maybe the name tag is going to get replaced with paper in the loot table, making the dungeon even worse than its already downgraded version that happened last year. Now, I wish there was a beacon of hope here. I really hope that Mojang maybe takes a look at the dungeon and says, yeah, it lost 2 major things in the span of a year. Maybe we need to get some kind of new loot in the game that players really want to find, maybe a shirt or something, literally anything. But at least right now, for a structure like the dungeon and maybe even other ones like the mine shaft, they're getting downgrades in this update. Almost for sure. In fact, literally for sure, because it's already a downgrade. You don't even have to find one of these things to get a name tag anymore. You just make it. So now I ask you, what do you think? A 26.1 polar bear update of all time? New bear? Or maybe a new dungeon loot? Answer something down below. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Been me Waddles. I'll see you tomorrow.